energy doesn't know dimensions. Energy doesn't know time. So if you can be happy now, just remembering something happy, grab that, right? That repatterns what's happening inside you, which changes the results you're getting on the outside. I love helping leaders, small business owners, and executives really understand that if you're spiritual, you don't have to leave that at home. You can bring in the principles and actually learn how to work with this energy in your business to create success. The people who are wanting to manifest and it's not really working. My understanding is we have our inner world and we have the outer world, and you can do a lot. Every change, all transformation, according to my teacher, starts with awareness.
Welcome to the Life on Purpose Over 40 podcast, where empowerment, elegance, and health take center stage. I'll be your guide on this thrilling journey to outshine your past self. This is a podcast all about transformation. We're plunging headfirst into exactly what health, wellness, style, relationships, and career look like as a woman over 40. You'll be hearing from all the most sought-after global trailblazers and experts. This isn't just about learning, it's about embracing your inner, fierce, fabulous self. Let's get started. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. I'm very excited to have Marte here. Marte is a guest that I've been trying to get on for quite some time. We actually had a little incident a few months ago, so I'm so glad to have Marte back here today. Marte, great to have you. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. And when we first met last time, we were talking about a few things I was going through. So you got me into your meditation straight away, and I've been following them since. So I've been very excited. So I just want to let everyone know a little bit about you. So Marte Siebenhar, is that correct?
Siebenhar, yeah.
Siebenhar. You are the business healer, and you are on YouTube, and you're all over social media, and you're all about healing people when it comes to business, anxiety, wealth, everything that it comes down to when it comes to, especially women, how we feel when it comes to money and being prosperitous and with prosperity, and just how we feel about business in general. And before we get into it, because I want to talk about your actual meditations, because I really enjoy doing them. And I was just telling you off camera just before about that. But let's get into a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about you, how you came to be here, because you're a musician. Tell us all about you.
My goodness. Yeah, I've always been a person who's been interested in energy and mysticism. And my parents were teachers, and they saw I was creative. So they said, okay, you have this brain that is open to so many different ideas. Let's give you instruments and do your thing. So I actually have 2 degrees in music. And I'm really passionate about education. Again, my parents are teachers, so I was always a learner, always a teacher. I feel like when you learn, you learn best when you teach. And curriculum development and creating arts concerts and really moving people through emotional space, whether it was me on stage working with an audience or and my peers in an orchestra, or whether it has been moving a group of kids in a concert hall through an interactive concert experience, or in a boardroom working with executives and board members and teams that are going through challenging times. Always it's been about moving people through emotional space. I learned a lot as a musician that is actually really relevant to life. And when I was studying in conservatory in New York City, I also got involved in energy healing. I didn't know that was a thing. This was back before anyone was really even doing yoga, let alone Reiki, or was vegan, and all of those things that have come along as our light spreads, right? So I had my first experience meditating, and that same day I met my spiritual teacher, and I just thought I was going to a meditation with a friend. She said, "Do you want to come?" I said, "Great." And little did I know that was the start of 27 years of doing energy work, doing prosperity work. At the time, as a music student in New York City with no job, life was really tight. So I experienced days where I would really have to think about whether eating was a priority. But I studied the principles, I learned about energy, and I discovered that it's a tool for life and it's a tool for business. And although initially I was a little afraid to show myself as somebody who was into spirituality, somebody who was into energy, I didn't think that would get me a job. So I had my own professional career in management consulting and arts leadership. And I founded my own business in 2019, went full time with it. And at that point, I said, oh my gosh, all these energetic tools that I have, let's bring them back and like, let's actually make a business based on these principles. Let's spiritualize the business and let's become prosperous using these tools that my amazing teacher, Master Chokluk Sui, who is the founder of modern pranic healing, he gave me those tools as early as age 18. So I'm super grateful to my teacher and to this path, which always kept calling me back. And then 2018, 2019, I really got back into it. And what can I say? In a year, uh, COVID happened, right? The pandemic happened. And while most of my colleagues, I left my full time job to start my business, most of my colleagues got furloughed and my business doubled. And I really took it as a chance to show up with generosity because when things are uncertain, I feel like we have our values and we have goodwill. So if you're all about goodwill in your business, you're generous, you're going to create prosperity for yourself, you're going to create generosity that comes back to you. So I spiritualized my business, and in 1 year, I doubled my business, and in 2 years, I did 4x. So I know these principles work. I'm very grateful to use them and to really help people learn how to spiritualize their businesses, how to use energy as a tool for success in life, and freeing us from the generational pain and trauma and all of the things that we've lived and that we've experienced that is also showing up in our businesses, especially for small business owners. All of that comes with us. So I love helping leaders, small business owners, and executives really understand that if you're spiritual, you don't have to leave that at home. You can bring in the principles and actually learn how to work with this energy in your business to create success.
I love it. So, when we first met and you took me through one of your meditations, and I have to say that if you would have asked me 5 years ago to do anything spiritual or, even longer than that, I was always like, oh, all that woo woo, I can't stand woo woo. I was like really about science, 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 and science says this, and facts, facts, facts. And I was very much that person. And I've noticed over the years how, and I think that's sort of where you probably realized that it was really time to come back into that place, is because we started to realize that there is this sort of alignment that can happen, um, that you can still have the science beliefs and still have the spiritual side, because there is something that is very deeply ingrained into human beings at that level. And I've been doing, and I said to you off air before we started this, I was like, I love doing your meditations. And the reason for that is because of the fact that when I do meditations normally, because I don't have that feeling natural, it was not my feeling before. I was very science-based. I get very funny about meditations because I find that there are either people that just talk way too much, or I find that there are people that are very, I'm reading off a piece of paper and I'm just reading out, anyone could have written it and they were just like the voiceover, really. So I find it really hard to find this really nice balance. I was even on one of those big apps that are going around at the moment, Calm, or anyway, one of those big ones. I'm not sure which one it is. And even on one of those big ones, I was like, wow, this is terrible. Like, they're meant to be this amazing app. And I was like, this guy that's reading, the voice was nice, but just what he was reading, it was so scripted and so robotic. So I get really sensitive. I'm highly sensitive to that stuff. And what I love about you, the way you come across, you're not scripted at all. I can see that it's all natural. It's so ingrained into you. You just know this so well that you're just going from your heart when you talk. And you really get that sense when I sit there with my eyes closed and I'm listening. There's been a few times I've actually opened my eyes like, oh, Mada's in the room with me. And I'm like, oh, no, she's not. She's just in front of me on the video. So I do love that, because you do have that really nice balance between, you explain things and you say, you talk about things in the way of even like little, I don't want to say stories, but like explaining something in a really nice way, but it's just enough. It's not too much. So I love it. I think it's really good. And what I love is that, and I think it's an art form. It's something that we can be passionate. People can be passionate about being spiritual. They can be passionate about wanting to meditate, but having that perfect balance and making someone feel like they're getting enough out of it without overburdening them with stuff that they don't need. It is an art, and you've definitely got that down pat. So congratulations. But I find that also what you speak about is really interesting, because you do give some good. I remember one the other day I listened to The Garden. It's
The
yeah,
prosperity garden, the healing garden. Yeah.
yeah, and you talk about something like the mango tree, and that I'm trying to remember it. You know it better than me, but it's about you can't get mangoes from not a mango tree. Yeah, and I love that, because I think you give that really. You're very grounded with the way you explain things. It's very much about the real life situations, rather than getting too much into the whole woo-woo thing. So yeah, I love it. I think it's fantastic. So I want to talk a bit about
Thank
the
you.
actual, a couple of videos that I've seen on YouTube channel that I do want to touch on as well. I've got a little list that I want to talk through. But let's just go back to what I think we're all told as women. Oh, you should, manifest money and think about being rich. And can you just give us a little bit of an outline for women who are one type of woman who's doing all this meditation and doing all this manifesting and is not getting them anywhere, and the woman who doesn't believe in that, where I used to be, where I just didn't believe in all that. So let's talk to those sort of women that really are not finding anything working for them. And let's just go through why it's not working, whatever they're trying so far.
Sure. So what's wonderful about what you just said is that was also me. I was born in a family of very rational thinking people and with very creative, intuitive people. And that's like one parent is one and the other parent is the other. And I'm so grateful to have that mix, because everything that I've done, the big leaps that I've taken, I feel like are more kind of creative and spiritual. And the making sure I know that I'm prepared to do whatever it is that I'm prepared to do to make that leap and to land successfully is definitely the practical side. And I'm an artist, I'm a trained artist, but I've always been really interested in and really good at business. I just have an intuitive knack for it. But strategy is my thing. And a lot of the strategy that I do in my work also has to do with taking leaps and where we apply not only rational, logical thought, which is your left brain, but also creative, intuitive, spiritual information, which is your right brain. So I feel like I started as one, I had a career in the other, and now I put them together. And I work a lot with founders. And I think you have to have both to be a founder. You have to have a vision. Otherwise, why are you doing this? Why are you starting something if you do not, number one, believe in something bigger than yourself? And number two, to have the guts to really believe that there are all these reasons it may not work out and that people are going to tell you it's not going to work out. But I have a way of just combining both. And that's where I've landed in the world of business. And then feeling insecure about sharing this energy side of myself for many years until 2023. I just had to rebrand, call myself the business healer. And all of my clients came with me. I was like, I think we're going to do not only coaching and strategy, but we're going to do energy healing. If that's not for you, that's totally fine. We can, conclude our container here. But if that sounds interesting to you, let's give it a try. So everybody came over, and pretty much everyone who gave me feedback about that was like, oh, this makes sense now. And oh, you kind of were doing this before, but like now I see what's happening. Right. So for the people who are wanting to manifest and it's not really working, my understanding is we have our inner world and we have the outer world. And you can do a lot. Every change, all transformation, according to my teacher, starts with awareness. So if you're aware you desire something, already the energy is moving. Energy follows thoughts. And the minute you have a thought, the energy is moving. Now, we also have thoughts that move in the opposite direction that kind of counteract and counterbalance. So if we desire it, energy is moving, but I don't know how. Then we kind of we tamper it. So or we tamp it down. So we really have to be thinking constantly about, it's not just an inner work game. You want to do the inner work until you feel it is done, right? Like not you believe, you think, maybe, but until you are so solid in your reality inside you that there is no other answer, there is no other outcome, that's when it's always going to show up in the outer world. But a lot of what happens in my experience, and this is part of why I do healing as part of my work, not just strategy, because the fears, the anxiety, the voices in our head that tell us that we're not good enough, wherever those came from. Especially for women, we're taught to doubt ourselves and to seek help, or that we can't do hard things on our own. So, really, those are just thoughts we keep thinking. And what we don't realize is that we're kind of playing tug of war with our dreams. So, part of what we do is we identify those old thoughts, those old habits of thinking, those belief systems, the generational pain, wherever it started, we identify it. When you identify it, you can release and let it go. And we don't just do that with mindset work. There's a lot of playful stuff I do with mindset work. It's not just think a better thought, it's also working with those energies and using energy. Thoughts are made of energy. We use energy to release and disintegrate them. So it's like you use the right tool, the right method, right? So if it's made of energy, energy is the right intervention, especially if it's something that we can't explain and we don't know why we keep getting stuck. There are a lot of reasons for that. Possibly karma is one of those things. I teach my clients about karma. My group program is largely about understanding how karma works and how to work with it for good, how to work with it rather than be afraid of it or be in dread of it or try to ignore it. So, to the people who are doing that work, we want to look at for the people who are doing manifesting work, but it doesn't feel like it's physicalizing. There's probably something inside that is keeping you from manifesting that, whether that's your own subconscious that's like, oh, we have a limit here. Don't go beyond the limit. You're not safe. We'll bring it back. I have a client who has a very successful medical practice, and she is pretty much constantly for the last 18 years, she's been teetering on the edge of just enough, but not more, because her subconscious has told her wealthy people who have lots of resources are not nice people. If you're a nice person, you're not going to be wealthy. So she keeps playing with this edge of like, but I want more, but the subconscious brings it back. So there are these forces that sometimes keep us from getting what we want because we're actually sending a message that that's not safe, whether we not know or not that we're broadcasting that. So what I work with is 4 things: limiting beliefs, generational patterns, lived experiences, and karma. And all of that is baked into the work that I do. So the same client last night, I had a group session, and her aha that she wanted to share was, I was sitting in my office and I was going about my business and I got an intuitive message. And this is a person who's very rational, very medical, very scientific. She said, I got the message. You don't have to worry about that anymore. And for her, the way that she felt that land was like these money troubles you have of having to contain yourself because it's not safe to want wealth, that's completely disintegrated. And she even said to me, she said to the whole group, she said, I was really resisting whether this group thing was going to work because it just didn't make sense to me that I've been working on this. I've been in therapy. I've done certain programs, but nothing has moved it. So why would this be any different? But she said there was something that kind of got into her in our last healing that made her think differently. And she was able to put aside this limiting belief for the first time and believe that was not true, that was actually not true. So, and these things, they seem small. Okay, I don't believe that anymore, but that's really huge. That creates transformation that materializes immediately because we are usually the block. So, and pranic healing, my spiritual teacher who invented it, he's an engineer. So everything we do is protocol based. When I do a healing, I'm using a protocol and I just follow the protocol. And of course, there's intuitive information that comes through. And then we talk about what comes up. And this is in all of my one-on-one work. And in my group programs, we also do group healing. So I hope I've talked to both of those types of people, but like I'm both, right? So I can get lost in meditation, and I can also say like, okay, what's the ROI on this investment I'm making in my business, right?
I love it. So you said karma, you work on karma, limiting beliefs, generational patterns. What was the 4th one?
Lived experience.
Lived
So
experience.
traumas, things that, I'll just give you an example. So I had no financial training whatsoever. I dropped into New York City as a student at age 18 by myself. I lived by myself and I lived a mile from the institution I was going to for my education. And I was literally on my own. I had no revenue. I had no job. I would, because my parents wanted me to study, and they told me, when you leave, you're on your own. And I took that very seriously. So I did not want to ask for help. I did not want to tell them how much I was struggling financially. And I would take like a bagel and eat it over the course of like 3 or 4 days. It was not healthy behavior. But what my lived experience taught me at that point was, to be safe financially, you have to deprive yourself. Right. So I created a limiting belief that I had never had before, because, I was very privileged in my upbringing, middle class family. I mean, they're teachers, so it's not like, they were swimming in wealth or anything, and we ate from the garden to survive, especially early on in my life. But it was a really tough time for me financially. And when I started applying the principles that I learned about how prosperity actually works, it's a science. It's a science. If you follow the principles, you get prosperity every time. And part of that is working with karma, right? So if things are blocked, and they're blocked, or there's a pattern, we have to understand that there's something we're not getting. And rather than keep trying, why don't we actually observe and work with this layer that may be happening in the background that we don't know about, because we're here in this body, in this lifetime, in this container. So let's work with the laws of karma, and that usually starts to loosen the brakes, loosen the grip that the universe has on the things that we desire.
Oh, I love it. So when you talk about karma, because the second you started speaking about karma, I think in a negative sense of something I did wrong to get something bad to happen to me. Is that what you're talking about, or is it something else?
Yeah. The idea of karma, a lot of people, I think, have ideas or fears about it, because the idea that we did something at some time and it's going to hurt us. And this is the other shoe dropping, like, oh, well, karma will take it away from me. Karma is, like, from the soul perspective, karma is just a tool. It's the curriculum. So if you're meant to learn a thing and you choose to learn a thing in this lifetime, I believe in multiple lifetimes, because it's the only way that I can understand bad things happening to good people. Or it's just a tool to help us understand the lessons we're supposed to get. So if you have a lesson and you're not learning it, it's going to come back. And then if you don't learn it, it's going to come back, and it's going to come back. And every time it's going to be harder, it's going to be more obvious, and it's going to be something that is more painful. So there are two ways to learn. There are two ways to learn your lessons. One is do your inner work, get curious about why things are happening to you, or what you notice about yourself, or where you've been stuck, or where you feel constrained, or why you're not where you want to be. All of us have been where we don't want to be, right? And we do the inner work. That is one way. The other way is karma. Karma is not as gentle as you choosing to learn your lessons. And essentially, karma is just getting you on a corrective path. So it will get your attention. Oh, that's a dead end. Oh, well, I'm going to keep going with my rationale. Karma will just keep nudging you to what you're supposed to learn. And it is not as nice. It is not as gentle. It is not as fun if we let karma teach us. So the law of karma, it's a law. If you know how to work with it, you don't get hurt, right? So that's part of what I teach is empowerment, because karma is essentially cause and effect. And yes, you can be worried about the negative karma that you may have created in the past, but you really can't do anything about that. What you can do is generate positive karma, and that is what I teach my clients. And eventually, if we're neutralizing negative karma through good acts, good works, good deeds, generosity, so many ways that you can work with positive karma and create it, then it's kind of like if your debts start to be paid off, then you don't have to keep paying in surprising ways that like stop you or surprise you. Things like accidents, things like family patterns of different diseases, like some of these are karmic. People have, like, groups of people at a time and in a place have karma. So there are a lot of layers to it. It's a very complex topic, but essentially it can be a tool for empowerment if you really understand how to work with the law. Like, law is irrefutable, right? So rather than be disempowered and fearful, the idea is we can work with it and use it as a tool for success.
Mm. Wow. As you're saying all of that, it just makes me, so many things just hit me just then that I'm just like, whoa. Made me so aware of so many things. And I think anyone listening or watching that's been through anything, dramatic or life-changing in their life recently, they're probably listening to that going, wow, that makes a lot of sense now. I've just worked out a lot of things. So yeah, very interesting. We were planning last time when everything went wrong on my end. We were planning on doing a session together. So I'm sure that we'll get that happening at some stage, and then we can get on to another call at some stage, because I would love to go more deep into these sort of things. I think it's really interesting. I was looking at your YouTube channel, and you have a couple of new videos up there, but I also saw a couple of other videos there that I just want to touch on today. And I highly recommend anyone listening to go and have a look, because you've got lots of really excellent different videos, where they're some shorter ones, some longer ones. But a few that I wanted to touch on, I'm just going to read off my list because I wrote them
Thank
all
you.
down. You have one called 4 Life-Changing Things That Happen When You Break Life Patterns. Is that limiting patterns? Can you just touch on that for a minute? Someone has to go and watch the whole video, but can you just touch on what that is?
Well, right. So when we have limiting patterns, that can be everything from the things that we think about ourselves and our own potential. And those can also be things like, I recognize I have scarcity mindset around whatever, or my whole family has been in debt as far back as we have ancestors to tell us about it. So when we break limiting patterns, what we're moving into is freeing ourselves from being defined by what came before. And what came before is often the things that we hear about our own potential, our own value, our own worth, our own capacity, our own gifts and talents from people who came before. Somebody in my family was told by a teacher in first grade that they were dumb. This person, that very sensitive person, they really internalized that in a way that they have in their life resisted opportunities to shine because they didn't feel like that was something that they were allowed to do. So these words create, like, words are powerful. It's why they call it spelling. It's like what we put out there in our verbal output really shapes the lives that we have, and it shapes the people around us too. Everything is energy. And when we think about karma, we want to be gentle, because if we're all connected at a quantum level, and by the way, consciousness is everywhere. Like, quantum physics is all about how when you watch particles, when you observe them, they change, they do different things. Happening on a subatomic level, what is happening in us, where we have physicality in addition to quantum parts of ourselves. So consciousness is everywhere, and consciousness is malleable. Consciousness is something that we can direct. We don't really understand a lot about it, because most of what we're taught to do, especially as women, is like, be nice, fit in, make people feel good, be pretty, be successful, don't draw too much attention to yourself, be kind to other people. And I find that really limiting, because we're so much more than what we look like. We're so much more than our personalities. We're the soul. The soul is connected to everything that there is. We have incredible power. Marianne Williamson said very famously, it's not that, and I'm going to paraphrase because I'm not going to say it exactly right, but she said, but it's not that we fear our power. It's anyway, you know what the quote is. I guess we'll cut that part. Anyway, the idea is, if we're actually willing to take our power, our quantum powers, and use them for productive purposes. I don't mean productive like, I got to get XYZ thing done today. I must finish my to-do list. When we're using energy, we're productive on another level, because there's the level of reality. There's the level of energy. We all have an energy field around us. Our thoughts and our feelings, especially the old ones, are in our field all the time. And what happens is we feed them. We feed them and they get bigger. We feed them and they get bigger. And what we're living in is a reality soup of our own thoughts and our own feelings. And that can very much feel real. But I did a healing with an executive at a university. First time she'd ever been open to healing or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, we'll just give this a try. If you don't like it, that's totally fine. All I'm going to do is I'm going to do a healing. I'm going to do a protocol-based healing while you do a meditation. So you have a job and you're like focused on a thing, and then we'll do that. And afterwards, this is like 15-minute healing. she said to me, I'm speechless. Like, I have no words. I said, okay, what does that mean? She said, like, literally, this is the first time I don't feel like I just feel neutral. I just feel like I was just born. I just feel just blank. And
Like
I
a
was like,
reset.
okay, well, how is that? Yeah. And she was like, oh my gosh, I have literally never felt this way. I have never not had words. And I said, what is that like for you? And she's like, this is good. We need to do this. We need to do this. This is really good. So essentially, what I did was I took the layer of clutter of her own inner voice, the negative one, the critical one, the mean one that tells us we're not enough or we should have or whatever. And we also clear out that which comes from other people. So many women are empathetic and they actually take on energy from other people without realizing they're actually trying to help by projecting their energy into somebody else's body. And then they're like, I'm really tired. I can't figure that out. It's like, well, one body, one energy, like keep your energy to yourself. This is what they tell us in preschool. But I don't know if that answered your question. I went off on a tangent there.
All right. I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's interesting. It sounds like she had a total reset
Yeah.
um, to start from scratch. And I think that's so true about the giving our energy. So
Yeah.
we drain ourselves a lot.
Right. So getting back to your idea about what happens when you break patterns, like if you have a 15-minute energy clearing and you have a new pattern you can define for yourself, I would say like anything is possible for you. So pranic healing, the healing that I do, has two principles. We cleanse and then we energize. And when we cleanse, it's kind of like having a cup. If we have a cup and the cup is dirty, we don't just like add energy to what is already dirty or what's full or congested or painful. We clear it out. So we clear it out energetically. We clean it. And so and this is like a metaphor for a body, a person, their energy. If what we have is empty, we can put in something new. And when we cleanse, we not only clear out the old, used up, possibly negative stuff, but we clean the container itself so that it can hold something different. So it's not like we're just pouring out the dirty water from the watercolor, we're actually cleaning it inside. So then what it can hold can be clean and stay clean. So then when we add energy, when we energize, the frequency of what is in here doesn't match what happened before. It matches what is wanted, what is desired. Some people call this like reprogramming. We're just reprogramming. Um, we're just matching the frequency of what you actually desire, not what the pattern that has been keeping you small or stuck or disempowered. And why do I do this work? I didn't mention that. I do this work because good people do good things when they have energy, when they have wealth, when they have resources, when they have the ability to be full and whole. So imagine if more people were showing up generously in the planet. Imagine if more people were showing up generously to relationships and to business, where it's maybe not a quid pro quo or, old ways of doing things, which is like, if I'm going to do something for you, you got to do something for me. Well, why don't we put our talents together and make more than what could be alone? But we're not coming from a place of like greed and swapping. We're coming from a place of collaboration and using energy to amplify the possibilities that are limited when we're not working together.
Yeah, I love it. So I've got a question for you. I've got a client of mine. I adore her. She's amazing. And she's a therapist. So I think she does a lot of therapy work. So she's got a lot of burdens of other people's dramas on her shoulders. But she also has the the burden of earning more in her home than her husband. Not a lot more, but she earns more. She's got health concerns herself. And then she's also got, they're trying to buy a new house. So they need money to buy a house. All of these things are on her shoulders on a constant, regular basis. And what would be, with someone like her, what would be the first thing you would do with her to find out what her actual issues are? Like, what is it? Because I can look at it and go, girl, you got to get yourself some extra time. You got to get a housekeeper. Like, I can have all these things where I can say, these are all the things going on, but what's the underlying problem? That how do you get down there and find out what it is?
Well, if somebody's having shoulder pain or neck pain, it's like the body is very literal. So I can tell you energetically what I think is going on. But generally, when I meet with somebody for the first time, we spend about 40 minutes taking an inventory of the things that have been stressing them out, things that have been bothering them, and how to what degree they are feeling 100% and thriving versus maybe whatever percent they're actually thriving at. And we do that in the area of life, sorry, not life, finances, relationships, family, generational dynamics, career and work and purpose, time. A lot of us don't think about how much we're in scarcity around time, energy, and productivity. So we go through and there are 7 areas. I don't have them in front of me right now, but we go through how they rate each other, how they rate themselves in each of these areas. And then if something keeps coming up as a theme, or there's one thing that I see as the big picture, the thing that I can see as somebody who works with energy that is affecting these different areas, then we talk about it. Like I have a client right now who she relocated her business, and after 25 years in another market, she relocated to this market, and she is not feeling successful. And she doesn't feel like she's able to get her business out off the ground. And right now her husband's paying the bills. And she feels so terrible about that. And her self-worth is very low because she wants to contribute, but she's not financially in a place to do it yet because she hasn't done the business, but she doesn't feel like doing the business because she feels like it's not going to be worth it. And then she's not taking care of her body. So when I heard her say all those things, I was like, oh, the key here is disempowerment around a story that to be financially in order to be valuable. If you're not valuable, then it doesn't matter how you look, and it doesn't matter what you do because you're a failure, right? If you're not financially contributing, you're a failure. So this is the opposite of what you were just talking about. But when I looked at, I feel like a failure, that's the energy. So we targeted the energy, and I found it in several different areas of her body, right? Ones that are not surprising if you know how energy works. But we pinpoint what it is what pattern she wants to break, what pattern she wants to let go. And we use energy. I pick the protocol and then I work to remove that exact pattern because that's the pattern that's been keeping her trapped. It's been keeping her in disempowerment and anger and frustration and not success. So we did one healing, and she's like, oh my gosh, I feel so much lighter. I feel so much more hopeful. I really see that I have the ability to claim my space and to move forward no matter what's happening with my money. Like I'm not defined by the money I bring in. And like in 15 minutes, like 20-minute healing to say like, oh, I'm not defined by the situation I'm in right now. That's transformation, right? So we did another healing, and there's this idea of like being dependent. There's another person in the household, a stepchild who is an adult child taking up resources. And then there was judgment about that child taking up resources. So what we got deeper into in the second session was, what does it mean if you are a dependent? What does it mean if you're a dependent? For her, it was shame and guilt. So we went in another layer, targeted shame and guilt. And at the end, she's like, oh, I see that I just need to ask my husband for a certain amount of money every month. And I'm going to do that for 3 months. And here's what I'm going to do during that 3 months to get my business going. Now that I don't feel so bad about myself, I am excited to actually go out and meet people and talk about my business. I have the energy to do this. So if we can do that in 2 sessions, I mean, what would I say to somebody in the situation you described? It's essentially, we would get to the heart of the energy, the message, the subconscious message that has been blocking or causing fear that has trapped the energy in non-movement. And then we would target it, we would release it, and then we would check in, just see how life has gone. And usually when I work, it's kind of like You don't take one antibiotic, you take a course of them. So usually when I work with somebody, I work in a package kind of situation or a program over a certain number of weeks. Transformation can happen instantly, but usually if we don't have a practice to keep the energy where we want it to be, we revert back. So that's where you want to clean this. And also you want to keep it clean so that it can maintain at the high frequency that matches the goals.
I love it. And I saw another video that you had on your YouTube channel. It was 3 habits that tarnish your inner glow. And I love the name of that video, so I want to know more.
Well, I think I did that a couple years ago, so I don't remember exactly what I thought or exactly what I put out in the video. But 3 habits that tarnish your inner glow. Definitely one of them is self-criticism.
Mm. Is that a big one for women that you see?
Definitely, definitely. The inner critic is loud. The inner critic is very relentless, and the inner critic is usually heartless. So part of what I'd say the number one thing that I see in women that holds them back is they don't trust themselves because they've been taught that's not the way you be successful. Like you have to constantly calibrate yourself to people outside of you and please them and one client, it was like, well, I'm working all the time and I'm totally depleted and I'm also anxious about the future. So I have all of these leads that I'm following and I don't feel like I can let any of them go because what if there's money left on the table? So essentially what we got to was, well, why is it that you don't think that the money that's on the table right now, whether or not you pursue absolutely every lead, even though it's clear that some of them are not a good fit, like what will really happen if you leave money on the table? Oh, well, I won't be successful. Okay, well, why won't you be successful? Because if people don't work with me, it means they don't like me. And if they don't like me, they won't pay me. So essentially, it was like, oh, well, we just identified people pleasing is the thing that's actually destroying your business because it's keeping you from being empowered. It's keeping you from being focused. It's keeping you from trusting that you will have enough and more because you're splitting your energy and going for acclaim and approval rather than deep service in the ways that you're actually really powerful in doing. So, and that was that was an aha moment. And there's a lot of people pleasing. Like again, women are taught be pretty, make people feel good, don't be seen, or be seen, but don't be heard, right? And it's really destructive. And so what I find is that if we don't know if we're okay with people, this is my own pattern, then we worry about it. It's like, oh, well, that person then had a way that they looked on their face, and that meant that maybe I should have said something else, but you don't really know. And that person just has a face thing at that moment. It's something where we make it our problem rather than really trusting ourselves in a deep way, trusting in our value, being confident that everything works out for us, because really it always does. And if it's not working out, it's probably just something that we need to learn that we're not sure how to learn. So we're not learning it, and therefore it's just kind of holding us hostage for the moment. But in the end, we always learn. We always learn.
I love it. So, Marta, I love having you here today, and I cannot wait because what I would love to do is I want to do a session with you. The one that we were meant to do, we're going to get around to doing that. And then I'd love to have you back on where we sort of, let's wait and see how much we actually talk about because we might find out things about me that I don't want the world to know. No.
All good.
Maybe we'll be able to have a little chat about that and go into a bit more detail. I've got some other videos there on your YouTube that I also want to discuss because there's definitely a lot of great content. I love what you talk about. I'm going to take a few ideas back to my clients as well to, sort of let them know that there's some areas that they need to probably think about more than just a matter of me as a business coach saying to them, hey, just make more time or stop being so stressed. Or, this particular client I was talking about, I've now told her to take 6 weeks off her work because she's been so overwhelmed and she hasn't been sleeping properly and her illnesses have been worse. And she's just got so many things that are getting worse and worse. So I've just said, you need to step away, just take the summer off, take the whole summer off. And she was like, what, can I? And I'm like, yes, just take some time off. Sometimes taking time off can really refresh the way you think. But I also think, from what you've been saying, I think that there's another layer there that she should be looking at, because yeah, I would love to see what we come up with when I speak to you at some stage. But I'd love to get you back on so we can discuss that in more detail, because I love this. I think that this is an area that we as women we don't investigate this in ourselves enough. I think that that is something that, if I think about my mum, she never did anything like this. And now that she passed last year, she passed about a year ago. And I'm actually, I don't know if I spoke to you about this last time, but I'm in the middle of writing a book now that's from mother to daughter. And it's about, what mothers tell their daughters. I'm going to talk to you about this afterwards. I'd like to get
Ooh,
you.
nice.
Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
write it. But I'm in the process of writing it. And part of that reason where that came from was when my mum passed and I was there at her passing. And I have a daughter. I thought, there's so many things that my mum didn't teach me that I had to learn on my own, and I learnt probably too late. And then I thought, did she actually know these things? Like, there's things I never got a chance to ask her. And so I decided that I wanted to write a book about that, and how women, especially our generation and the older ones, don't know things. But I also see it in my stepdaughters that there's so many things that they do not understand that they need to know. And I don't want my daughter to be in that situation. And I think we as women do ourselves a real disservice by spending so much time worrying about all the external factors and worrying about everyone else and not worrying about ourselves. So I really hope people like you, and that's where this podcast came from. This podcast came from, hey, there's so many things that we need to know to make the next part of our lives, the next half of our lives, really, really special. And having women like you on here really makes a difference. And yeah, I'm really excited about learning more about myself and also helping others learn about themselves as well.
Well, thank you for that. It's so true. What's happening inside us always affects the things that happen outside of us. And I think women are expected to be the caretakers and the brains behind the operations and the operations, right? So there's so much that society asks of us and that quite often we step into without questioning, right? So the idea of deep, thorough, and permanent healing inside for what we've been too ashamed or too afraid or too stressed out to name or to even understand we're having this inside of it, it doesn't have to be there. And if there's a lightness and a joy that you can experience in your everyday life, like I feel now, because I know how to do this work, and I have the dream job, if you ask me, helping others find that and hold it at the same time. It really is something we're not taught is possible for us, but it is. And it is an energy thing. And most of what we can do to start flipping that right now is just be aware if you're not in joy. If be aware if you're in exhaustion. Because even little tiny hacks like saying a kind word to yourself or beaming to yourself a pink light of love wherever you're feeling that space or that criticism. Or even just saying, like, okay, critical voice, you can go on vacation for 5 minutes. I'll see you in 5 minutes. I'm going to set my timer. This space is mine to remember something happy. And, happiness can be as simple as just reconnecting with a really delicious memory. And that's something we don't ever think about as a tool. But when you're feeling happy, even though something happened years ago or happened in another place, energy doesn't know dimensions. Energy doesn't know time. So if you can be happy now, just remembering something happy, grab that, right? That repatterns what's happening inside you, which changes the results you're getting on the outside. And it's so simple, but we're taught that if it doesn't make sense, it's not, it's less than, right? So,
Yeah.
but if we want to solve for joy, let's feel joy, because when we're feeling joy inside, we start to experience it more and hold it outside, right?
I love it. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to work with you or find out more about what you do?
Sure. They can find me on my website, which is thebusinesshealer.com. I'm also on Instagram and YouTube. I'm less on Facebook. I have a page, but I don't really do much with it. But Instagram and YouTube are the_business healer. And we can put those links in the show notes.
And you've got a program that's coming up?
Yes, I have a program coming up. It's a 10 weeks group program open to only 8 people. And this is where we learn about the technology of the course is all about the 4 things that we talked about: ending limiting beliefs, shifting generational patterns, healing lived experiences, and learning to work with the law of karma. It's a 10-week group program, and the 13 people who have gone through it so far have manifested a surprise, unexpected $825,000 of money and gifts and travel experiences and paid gigs, new business that they did not have at the beginning of the program. So it's a really powerful container to move a lot of energy really fast. And it's just a joyful space. It's done in community, and it's done in a way that people feel safe to say, I don't like group programs, but after this, not only do I not feel anxious sharing about what's happening with me, and we don't necessarily have to share what we've experienced or what we're doing in the exercises, but more what we're learning about ourselves. And people, actually 2 people at the end of the last group said, this program helped me realize I need to change my friend group because I want friends like this that I can talk about this kind of stuff with. And I think for me, that's like the highest praise of the group. So, but that's also the group energy of those individuals who came together at that time. So I'm really grateful and happy to be here. And that's called Pathway to Prosperity. And that, again, we can include in our recap here.
Yep, I'll put the link in the show notes. That's fun, fantastic. Marte, the business healer, I love having you on here, and I cannot wait to have you back, and I cannot wait to do a session with you as well. So I'm so excited about that. So thank you for joining us today. I'll have all your links in the show notes so everyone can get in touch with you. And thank you everyone for watching and listening. And until next time, thank you and keep smiling.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Caroline. Go be prosperous.